right, you ready, Eric?
I
Okay.
am ready. I even cleaned up for you. I look like Grizzly Adams this morning. I was auditioning for either Grizzly Adams or the Grizzly Bear. I'm not sure which.
Could we
But
do
for
a
you, I
before and
cleaned up
after?
today.
Can we get a picture before? Do you have any pictures before? So
You
we
know
can
what?
do a
I might
before and
somewhere
after?
have a picture before with a full beard and I look like Duck Dynasty.
Oh, that would be the best. That would be the best.
Chris, Eric called me at 8:00 this morning. He goes, "Oh, it's today. I got to go clean up."
All right. Let's roll. There are just too many commercial loan brokers that don't have a damn clue of what they're doing. All we're trying to do here is better the industry for everybody. At the end of the day, you can make great money in this industry, but in the end, it's all about helping people. You know, people always say, Chris, how can I be a successful broker? It's 2 words, hard work and dedication. If you don't like talking to people, you probably shouldn't be in this business. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Entrepreneurs in Finance, where we explore the daily lives of CCTG graduates and also lenders as well. And on this episode, I'm very excited to interview Eric Levine of Triple L Capital. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
If I was doing any better, I'd be twins.
Yeah, you know, I was just talking to Joe, and Joe informed me that, yeah, he was just telling me you in the morning you gave him a call and said you had to clean up because you had this big interview. So I appreciate you for shaving all your hair off and putting a good shirt on today for me.
You know, months and months of wearing sweatpants and T-shirts. I figured, you know, for this, I might as well see what it's like to look like a human being again.
Yeah, well, just don't stand up because we don't know if you're wearing pants, but.
No, I even put on pants today.
You're really? Okay.
I got to admit, they're a little tighter than they were the last time I put them on now.
Yeah, I know. We're all finding that out. We are all finding that out. But no, all seriousness, Eric, thank you for joining us today. I got a lot of questions for you, and you know, and I'd love to explore, you know, different aspects of what you're experiencing since you've been out of training. And I think what's interesting is, you know, what prompted this interview is, you know, you closed 2 deals with us, I believe.
Actually, we've closed 3 deals with you so
3
far.
deals. And when I say 3 deals, just for our viewers, you know, out of the 50 plus lenders that, you know, you have access to, I own one lending company where we do real estate lending and merchant cash advances. And so, but what crossed my desk is I kept seeing this name, Eric Levine, Triple L Capital, when I have to sign off on the checks that we send out, commissions. And I'm like, wait a minute, this guy has closed a bunch of deals with us. Let's get him on the podcast. And so here we are today.
Well, I appreciate it. I like doing business with you guys. So there you go.
Yeah, no, we're pretty simple to do business with, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So, all right, Eric, take me back to what did you do prior to CCTG?
So for the 2 years prior to CCTG, I had opened and owned an Allstate agency in the greater Atlanta area. It really wasn't my passion. It wasn't something I had done before. My real career prior to that was in the financial securities industry. I had started out as a broker at Smith Barney way back when I actually had hair that was like normal hair, and spent about 25 years in that industry. I was an advisor. I then worked in the back offices of a broker dealer, worked my way up to being the director of marketing and practice management for a mid-sized BD with 500 advisors. Eventually ran a BD of my own for a few years, and then decided that I wanted to do the last part, which I hadn't done, just go to the sponsor side of the world. And I spent another 10 years raising capital for public and private entities, mostly real estate investment trusts and Reg D programs, private placements.
So, yeah. And so what was there a significant change in what you were doing where you're like, I had enough, I want to do something else? And how did you actually find us?
No, so there was a change. You know, I'm not a young man anymore, or at least not as young as I'd like to be. You know, I used to travel 50 weeks a year.
Wow.
And then my wife would take me away and we'd go on vacation for 2 weeks a year. And so I was never home. Home was Saturday and Sunday, and then back out on Monday on the road again. And the truth be told is the wear and tear after a while in your body gets old. The money was great. I made a lot of money doing it. I had a great time. I built up a tremendous network of relationships. And we can talk about that later because relationships are really the key to everything we do over many, many years. And I just decided I wanted to kind of settle down a little, get off the road, try something a little different. Tried the insurance side at Allstate. Wasn't really thrilled with it. Was locked into the state. It was all
you know what?
home and auto.
Insurance is boring, man.
It's boring. You know, the commercial part's not, but the company I was with didn't really have a big hand in that space. You know, you had the staff, you had the office. It was just, and then COVID hit, and that just kind of, you know, people give up their insurance before they give up anything else, right?
Sure.
And so I looked at it, and I'm not the type of person. I don't know if you've ever watched Restaurant Impossible. You have these failing restaurants, and they put every last dime of their money into it. I'm not that guy. If I see the numbers are not trending the direction I want to go, it's time to get out.
Yeah.
Right. You move on. So I had been looking for something to do, and I have a very good friend of mine who's now one of my two partners. And we were looking for an idea to kind of come up with a venture that we could do together. And one of the things we ran across was commercial lending. We looked at it as an industry that's essentially recession proof. Secondarily, if you can't sell people money, you probably shouldn't be in sales at all. And third, it's something everybody needs, but we also didn't want the headache of doing consumers. You know, consumer lending is a different type of beast, different animal.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of research. We went online. We talked to some other training groups. None of them offered, well, there's two things. None of them had the amount of testimonials. And more importantly, I was able to look up those people today that you had done testimonials with as far back as 6 years ago.
Right.
Right. And see that they're still in business.
Right.
And so to me, that really caught my attention. And then the level of services that you were offering in the packages really just kind of stood out to us. And we said, you know what, this is a great business. And you guys seem to, and not seem, you've given us the great opportunity to be able to get access to a variety of different lenders.
Right.
That cover a vast array of different products,
right?
So that we can be nimble. And it's been fantastic. And then the back office support, you know, Gary and Mac cracks me up. Both of them crack me up for different reasons. But
hold on. So let me just stop you real quick, because I do want to dwell on this a little bit because it's exciting and please get on record that you and I didn't speak about this beforehand. So it's not like I queued you up.
You did not.
At all. So I want to hone in on this because oftentimes people get dragged in different directions and get misleaded. But so you actually spoke when you found a bunch of, and there's not a lot, but when you found a couple of other training companies, did you actually speak to them?
I did. We did. We spoke to them.
What was that experience like? And I'm not,
they were more interested in selling a program.
Right.
And then you were kind of on your own from there. Right.
Right.
The biggest benefit we felt was the lifetime support.
Right.
That, my partners are bright guys.
Yeah.
I'd like to say they're brighter than I am, but they're younger than I am. So, but I realized that I only know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. What I don't know is I don't know the industry as in depth, say, as I do the financial securities industry.
Okay? Right.
So for me, having the ability to have people that I can talk to who've been doing this for 20, 30 plus years, who are going to guide me in the right direction, whether it's your firm or somebody else's firm, but do the right thing and guide me in that process really was to me the main selling feature.
See, but here's the problem though, right? And I don't mean to keep hyping on this, but I think it's an important point you brought up to what we call due diligence prior to investing with us. There's guys out there, and I'm not going to mention names. That's not what this podcast is about, but they'll say anything to anybody just to get their money.
Yeah.
And so we have guys that say, oh, we got lifetime support. We have guys that say we've been doing this for, 10, 15 years. We've been training people for 20 years. But here's the deal. They have no testimonials, right?
Right.
Or they have fake ones, the ones that say like, oh, great training, 5-star. Like there's no actual legitimate testimonials. So, we're always, when people bring them up to us, we're always like, you know what, it doesn't take, you don't even do your homework. Like ask them for testimonials, ask them for proof that they've been training people month after month. Cause a lot of these guys are kind of one-man shop operations. The other thing we always encourage to ask is, you say you have this whole support staff, show us your staff. We
Yeah.
can do that here, right? We can gladly do that here, but where's all this support staff you're saying? And that, a lot of times that answers the questions and people are like, oh yeah, you're right. Did you do any of that? Did you kind of put other companies on a hot seat to say
We
like,
did. So when I was one of my earlier jobs in life in the financial securities industry, when I first went to the back office of the broker dealer,
right,
I was a due diligence officer.
okay,
It was my job. People misunderstand due diligence. The role of a due diligence officer is to find a reason to say no.
yep,
Okay?
absolutely.
It's
Just like an
not to say
underwriter.
yes. And so, is there a risk involved in anything you do? Absolutely.
Sure.
But if you do your homework and then you put the side-by-side comparisons, and the testimonials were very strong because they were videotaped, and you could look these people up and you could see they were still in business today.
Right.
Putting up Joey Y said this is a great program is not a testimonial.
Right.
That's like going to Amazon and saying, is this a good product?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Or Yelp reviews. That's my other favorite one, right?
Yeah, right.
It's different when you can hear someone say it, then you can look them up. And we also took it an additional step that we called some of those people.
Sure.
And we had conversations with some of them.
Right.
And that in itself, reinforced not only what we heard in the testimonial,
right,
but in what you guys had said. The two came together. There weren't different stories. When you get different stories, that's how you get head-on collisions on the railroad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
These trains were passing by the way they were supposed to. It was the same story. Everybody was on the right track.
Right.
That to me was a closing argument.
Yeah.
For why we needed to do this.
Yeah, and why you guys eventually chose us. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate
and we love the training too. I wish we could have done it live.
Yeah, so
and one day I will get up there. We'll get to that in a minute.
Absolutely. So what month did you come through? What year and month did you come?
So my partners did January. I did November.
November. So you did November of 2020.
I did November of 2020.
They came through January.
Yep.
All right. Recently.
And it's hard to start a business at the end of the year. I did that with my last one. I started in December. I really honestly think that's a horrible month to open a business, unless you're like retail.
Yeah. Unless though, but what we tell our graduates is if you do come in December, it's great because it's a little bit of downtime and you have time to prep for boom when January hits. As you know,
that's what we did.
Yeah, that's what you did.
We spent December literally. I mean, my partners had gone through training, but we were already accumulating a pipeline.
Okay.
Without ever having turned on the marketing yet. We still haven't turned on the marketing yet. We haven't scheduled, but
what package did you choose too? Just so
we chose the basic package.
Full package.
We may, once we've grown a little larger, upgrade it to the full platinum package.
Sure.
There were some benefits we liked in there.
Yeah.
But we wanted to see how we could do on our own.
Yeah.
And see how viable it was just doing it. And also because I think part of the learning process is you need to be the loan processor yourself at the beginning. You need to learn how the process works, understand what they're asking for, see the forms, hear the questions. I was on an underwriting call yesterday for a $1.9 million SBA. And, I wanted to hear, what does the underwriter ask? What are the questions you're looking for? And see how the client answered it. And so, down the road, yes, we want to have a loan processor behind. I hate paperwork. I'm a left brain guy, not a right brain guy, right? And my desk looks like a mess generally.
Yeah.
But I know where everything is.
Your office looks neat from here, though. I mean,
I cleaned it up a little bit this morning.
I can't see what's below you, but yeah, it looks good.
But I mean, I think it's important to fully understand the process from A to Z, because on top of that, we've also hired independent contractors, and we just took on 3.
Okay.
And so if we can't explain what we do to them and
Mm.
how the process works, then we're just messing around, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just throwing leads against the wall and see what sticks, right?
Right.
We could be proactive if I know what the process is. I could see the troubles coming in advance
Sure.
and already get answers before the underwriter asks me, which again improves our relationship with that lender,
Mm.
because when they get a deal from us, they know that it's going to be a complete package,
It's
that
been
we've already going to look at where the problem spots are.
right. And so, yeah, you practice that. I mean, we teach that in class. And it sounds like in short, and it hasn't been that long, but you guys have already excelled to that level. And like you said, you're even hiring independent contractors. That's great. We teach that.
Yeah,
That's good.
we think
Really.
it's a good way to grow. We have a very detailed plan on how we want to grow that side of the business.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you're executing it though. What was the first deal that you closed?
So the first deal we closed was a $50,000 unsecured working capital line for a young entrepreneur up in Virginia.
Hmm.
And he found us through Facebook.
Hmm.
And he was in the process of doing an SBA on a building that which I'll kind of get to that part in a minute, but he needed some unsecured capital for a big job he was doing. And so I said, well, I can help you out. Let me tell you, it's going to be expensive money, but it is instant liquidity. We can get it to you right away. I said, more importantly, your credit score is a little low. If you do good with these guys, then when you're done, you can always come back and get more, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so that was the first deal, as you always like to put it, the pay the bills money.
Take on that deal.
I'm still, and that's where we're going to try and do the marketing with you guys, is in that area, because that's the one area that we don't have connections in, right? That we don't have relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first deal that we closed. And we closed another small one with you, and then we closed another 90,000 about 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
And then we've just been building up a pipeline since then.
Yeah.
We had a real estate deal we were going to do with you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the appraisal did not come back where we needed it to be. And then at that point, the deal didn't make any sense anymore.
Right.
Because the client was trying to get some money out to do some repair the roof and expand a little.
Yeah.
And so, it hadn't moved in 3 years since they bought the building. But, what's interesting about that deal, and it's a side note, is that the rate was actually going to be higher than what they were paying, but it wasn't going to be a reset. It was going to be fixed, and it was going to be 30 years.
Mm.
And, but like I said, unfortunately, you and I have no control over appraisals.
Of appraisals, no. Yeah.
So, that deal unfortunately fell through. And so, listen, every 20 is going to get you one or two. I'd like to think it's going to get us 3 or 4.
Right.
I'd like to think we're a little pickier about who we do business with.
Sure.
But we were excited to get those deals done. Gary was fantastic. He really worked with me on these deals.
Yeah. So your first couple of deals were merchant cash advance deals.
Yeah, these were merchant cash advance
Cash
deals.
advance deals. And I remember the last check we sent you was what? $7,800 roughly?
Yeah, $7,800.
$7,800. That's good. All right.
And we've got an equipment leasing deal that's closing probably in a week, I hope.
Okay.
We've got a $2 million SBA that's closing. Hopefully it goes to loan committee today.
Nice.
We've got another $1.5 million SBA we're doing for acquisition of a gas station. We have an $8 million data storage facility that we're working on right now out in Nebraska. I did write the guy's insurance. So I still do that as a side hustle. So
Okay.
there's a nice $130K premium in that with 18 grand in commission. And it's a great cross-sell opportunity. So I would tell anybody that's looking at this business, if you have a business that is, what's the word I want to use? Synergetic
Right.
with what we're doing, there are opportunities for you to expand your model to cover other areas, right?
Absolutely.
And cross-sell opportunities.
Absolutely. It sounds like what you're doing. So you got,
Oh, that's not even half of it. I got one huge deal. We'll see if they get the property, but it's in Eagle Rock, which is in outside downtown LA.
Uh-huh.
A very old neighborhood. There's a mall for sale, 22 acres. It's 107 million acquisition. They're going to tear the mall down and they're going to put up multi-use.
Mhm.
So there's another 268 million in construction over 3 years on it.
Wow.
And they like what we have to do. They like that we have lenders that are capable of handling it.
Yep.
And the only question is whether they, we'll see how far the bidding more for the property goes.
Yeah. That's actually, the most important part. And then, you guys take over after that.
Exactly.
Situated.
So,
Wow. So it's only been what, 3-4 months?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 4 months, and you guys have closed a bunch of deals. You got stuff working in the pipeline.
Yeah.
What would you attribute that deal flow to? I mean, are you doing networking? Or are you?
Yeah. So I would attribute it to a couple of things. One is you got to get up and go to work in the morning, even if you're working out of your house.
You got to take a shower, and you got to put clothes on, and you got to.
Yeah, well, I don't always do that part, but
shave your head.
yeah, it's usually sweatpants and a t-shirt, but
Yeah.
it's you get out of work what you put into work, right?
Sure.
And what we decided to begin is, and the way I've tackled, at least from my side, is we market ourselves in a very different way. One, we use our existing network of contacts.
Right.
I spent 25 plus years in the financial securities industry. I know people with money.
You got
I know
contact.
a lot of people with money. I know a lot of business owners with money.
Right.
All over the country and outside the country.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, Facebook, especially LinkedIn for that. I put posts up. I've done a video. I'm going to start doing more videos. I reached into the phone book. I would have said the Rolodex, but we don't have those anymore. Literally, when we started this, calling up everybody I know, saying, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing now. We're here to help. If we can help you, that's great. If you know someone we can help, that's also great. And by the way, there's a benefit for you if you help us. We pay referrals. We pay 10% on any deal that's referred to us back to the person who referred it. And if they come back for a second bite at the apple, we'll give it to them again. Okay. Because we think that when you build up strong relationships and you do that for people, they're going to continue to feed your pipeline.
Oh, sure.
So that's one way we've been at it. Another way at it, and I know you're going to love this, is my partners and I are car guys. You don't drive around 150, 200,000 plus dollar cars and not have friends that are business owners that are wealthy. And wealthy people understand the power of other people's money and
Right.
how to leverage it.
Right.
And so we do a lot of car events, a lot of car shows. My partner just did the Lambo rundown in Miami. What was it? 2 weeks ago. They had the big Lambo rundown there.
Mm-hmm.
There's about 500 Lamborghinis that showed up from all around the country.
Yeah, that was that started out of Prestige, right?
Yep, started out of Prestige.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what we did that was interesting is we got 5 or 6 guys here in Atlanta, and they put Triple L logo stickers on their cars.
Oh, cool.
So throughout the event, we had Triple L Capital logoed on cars at the Lambo event.
Oh, wow.
So, if you think that didn't generate some questions, it did. It generated conversations. And, conversations create opportunities. And opportunities create pipelines, and pipelines create business.
Right.
So we try and think a bit out of the box. I think we're lucky in that my partners and I have all been successful in our previous endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows us to have existing relationships that we can utilize and turn on to find business.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't realize that the business that you're in now, a lot of people don't realize that it's not even so much if you're thinking, gee, all right, I don't know a lot of business owners, but I know people, but they're not business owners. It's not so much, it's okay if you don't know a business owners, but it's a 1 to 2 or 3 degrees of separation, right?
But it's also not hard to just go meet people. I mean, every time I go to a restaurant now, I don't get out that much during COVID, but every time I go out, I have this card called, I just ordered a new one of it because I misplaced the other. It's called a Mobilio card, and it's an electronic business card. I tap someone's phone, and I could set it to tap it for social media, for click here to apply, or just to give you my contact information. And every time I go to a restaurant, for example, I don't care if the food was good or bad. I still ask to see the owner, and I tell them how much I enjoyed the meal. And oh, by the way, I'm in the business of helping small businesses with you. If you ever need some capital funding, let me give you my contact information.
Smart.
And if I follow up with them on a phone call by doing that, my phone number's already in there with my name. It doesn't come up as spam or unknown caller or
That's
block call,
Yeah.
right? And you can do that with any business. I did it with my dry cleaner. It doesn't matter who you're talking to.
Right.
Everybody you talk to is a potential opportunity.
Or they know somebody who could be.
Or they know somebody. Absolutely.
Right.
And Facebook, by the way, is another one. I joined different groups on Facebook, and people will ask for money on there. They'll be like, I'm looking for it. And I respond by private messaging them and also responding directly to the link.
Mhm.
And I got a deal in Arizona that way. That I didn't do with you guys. I'm sorry. Did it with one of the other lenders. But it was a fix and rehab with a 1031 roll, which is a little bit more complicated.
Yep.
Because there's some additional paperwork in a 1031 roll.
Sure.
And then after we did that deal, I said to him, I said, I noticed in your REO and your real estate holdings that you own $3 million of properties. I said, how many loans do you have on those? He's like, I got like 12. I said, great. Let's have a conversation about doing a portfolio loan. Let's consolidate those 12 payments into one payment. And maybe even at a little better rate because we've got a larger group holding here.
Yeah.
So, even from Facebook, you can get leads without doing anything, just by putting time and effort in.
A little bit of effort into it. Wow.
Yeah.
And so tell me about the dynamics of your partners. Are each of you, first of all, where are you located and where are your partners located?
So I'm located in McDonough, Georgia, which is about 30 miles south of downtown Atlanta.
Uh-huh.
One of my partners, Rob Lewis, he's lives up in Kennesaw. I'm the full-time partner. I'm 100%, 120%, it feels like most of the time. Every day, this is what I get up and this is what I do.
Yeah.
Rob also works for a real estate developer. And he also handles as the CEO for their franchises that they franchise. And also they are franchisors of another business. And so he runs that. So every time somebody comes to us for a franchisor, we have the ability to say, well, we can also get you the funding for it, right? We can get you the SBA for that.
Yeah.
My other partner lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Also a young guy in his 30s like Rob. He's in charge of the expansion of Geico agency offices in the Southeast United States.
Okay.
So again, opportunities there and a lot of connections. They both probably put in 4 or 5 hours a day into the business at this point. So I put in like 12, 14, 16 sometimes. And they're putting in less. But what's great is they're constantly feeding me new leads in addition to leads I'm getting.
That's great.
And I've taken kind of the role of doing, the paperwork, the processing, the follow-up in addition to my own leads. And each of us has a kind of a little specialty. So Rob knows real estate really well.
Right.
He knows, franchise business as well. Joe obviously knows, something about franchising. Joe also manages a team of staff. So Joe has actually put together a subset training course for our independent contractors. And we sent him a big book with materials in it and works with them on getting them up to speed.
Okay.
And it's something he enjoys doing. And I'm jack of all trades, master of none. And just kind of go wherever, I fit in everywhere else and I do everything else.
You do everything.
So, but it is a true equal partnership that we've put together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Tell me about, what are some people looking into this, right? That may be viewing this. I mean, what are some really good words of advice you would have to them in terms of what it takes to be successful, which, you guys are young in the business, but you're already successful by our standards.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing you have to be able to do is you have to have a work ethic. I used to keep a sign in all my offices for my employees that always said there's 10 things that require 0 talent. And number 1 on that list is work ethic. You have to want to get up and get it. I know there are guys out there that do this, that sit in their pajamas in bed, generate maybe enough money to pay their bills for the quarter, right? And then that's all they do, right? If that's what you want to do, I would tell you go find something else to do, right? Yeah. You're not doing yourself or your clients any real services.
Right.
You got to be passionate. One of the things I love about this business that makes me passionate when I get up in the morning is every deal I look at's different.
Mm-hmm.
I love, no two deals are alike. They might be both SBAs, but that doesn't mean that they have anything in common with each other.
Correct.
You know, I think to be successful, you have to have great work ethic. You have to be highly motivated. You have to be capable of developing relationships. I know I've probably mentioned this a couple of times. A lot of people look at sales and they think of it as a transactional business, because in some cases there may not be a repeat on that customer, right? I never look at anything from a transactional point of view. Everything I do is envisioned with a relationship behind it, right? I've already gotten past the step that I'm going to get your business. I'm already thinking, how am I going to use you next to find more business or another deal?
Right.
And so, every morning I get up, I come upstairs. I've got a picture on a wall you can't see. That is a temporary picture of my next purchase, my next endeavor.
Okay.
To add to the garage.
Okay.
And that's kind of my motivation in the morning is I want that car in my garage and I want it in 12 months.
And what is it?
Oh, I'm looking at getting a McLaren. So that's the next toy that's going to go in. I just bought a new car a couple of weeks ago for myself.
Like what model of McLaren?
Well, so you're going to laugh. Everybody's trying to talk me into 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But truth be told, from a pure aesthetic standpoint, I'm a 12C guy.
12C, okay. Old school.
I just love the look of it. I like the tail better.
Yeah.
The front end of the new McLarens is nicer, but the tail, the rear, the way the spoiler pops up separately, but flattens out, built into the frame is just, it's just gorgeous. I just love it. I've had a lot of exotic cars in my time. Not a Ferrari guy. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
I do like Lambos, but McLarens are just.
You like them? All right.
My thing, McLarens and Porsches. Those are my toy cars. And then, as you know, I'm a car guy. Drive an M8. I just picked up a new one about 4 weeks ago, and I'm loving that thing.
I feel sorry for you. I feel sorry for you.
I know it's a terrible thing. It's a car is a terrible thing to waste.
Well, no, little thing against guys with M's. I mean, I'm more of an AMG guy, so you and I already had this conversation.
I have this conversation with one of my best friends. They're kissing cousins essentially.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, that's a great visual goal to have. I mean, and you'll get there. I mean, at the rate you're going with the pipeline, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we have, and you got to have a longer term. The other thing I would tell you is when you go into a business, you got to have an exit strategy, right? There's always got to be an exit. And, when my partners and I went into this, I had an exit strategy already planned out. There's a reason my partners are 20 years plus younger than I am. And that is not so they can necessarily buy me out, but so that I can retire and work at this part-time from the islands, right?
Okay.
And live my dream in retirement. And then when my wife and I don't have children, when we die, everything goes to them. They get my part of the company back.
Sounds like a plan.
And all the equity that's built into it. But you gotta have an exit. You gotta have long-term goals. You can't just wake up and I guess this would apply even to the business of the day-to-day. You can't just wake up and go, what am I going to do today?
Right.
We've got, we have a CRM, it spells out what am I going to do all day long, including what free time I have to make new calls or, what free time I have put aside to do problem solving. But, you got to schedule as much as you can in your workday to be as efficient as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's, I mean, I think you nailed it on the head for the first lesson is work ethic. I mean, this is as good as you are when you come out of here, you got to work. I mean, you can't, it's not easy. I mean, you got to work at it. You got to
get a lot of no's. I mean, it's not like it's everybody's a yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you gotta follow up and you gotta, I mean, we've preached this all these points on other podcasts, but it's good. Sometimes I believe repetitive talk is good for people that are, wanting to know, not the secret, but what are some common traits a lot of successful grads have in common? It's work ethic.
It is. And you also have to have the ability to be able to take the no's and to take the lost deals with a grain of salt, right? And
Yeah.
understand that every lost deal and every no is just another, gets you that much closer to the next yes.
Yep. Yep.
Or the next close, and sometimes people have difficulty with that.
It's good advice.
I don't, because I was a young cold caller as a broker. So I've heard no in every language known to mankind.
And probably you've heard no with a lot of 4-letter words after that too.
Oh yeah. And none of them were golf.
And none of them were golf. But at the end of the day is, who cares if you're told no or someone calls your name? You're not going to jail. I mean, that's who cares?
It's their loss, not mine. That's how I look at it.
Right. Tell me about George Bush. Prior to sitting,
my buddy.
Let's see. Oh wow. Let's see. Come up a little closer. Wow. All right.
If you don't like that one, I got others.
Tell me about that. I was asked, hey, ask him about George Bush.
So I had the opportunity when I worked in the financial world to hire George Bush several times.
Okay.
As a keynote speaker. And he is an absolutely fascinating man. He could teach me some things about relationship building. One of the stories I tell people is the first time that I met him. So I always wore a suit and tie. And on every suit I wear, I have a Navy lapel pin. And so, as we were setting this up, the first time I met him, he noticed the Navy lapel pin and he asked me when I served. I said, I served under your father during the first Gulf War. And so he thanked me for my service. And we ended up talking about military. And he was explaining how he takes disabled vets to his ranch every year in Texas for a couple of weeks. And he works with these guys because he takes personal responsibility for his actions and what the resultant, tragedies that happened to them while they were at war. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I really thought most interesting about him was when I met him again several years later and he saw me, he took one look at me and he goes, "You're the guy who served under my father." And he remembered because of the lapel pin.
Right.
And, it was just, what a great feeling I had that the former president of our great United States, right, remembered me. Not that I don't think I'm a memorable guy, but how many people does George Bush meet, know, talk to, right?
Right.
I'm a nobody. And he remembered, and that just made me feel great.
Awesome.
And he's just a great guy. I think he's misunderstood in many ways. But I found him to be a man of great integrity, of great honor, and someone I'm glad that I had the opportunity to be acquainted with.
Yeah.
At several events, and it's great memory to be able to have done that. It truly is. You don't very often get to meet presidents. There's not a whole lot of them.
No, there's not a whole lot of them. That's a great story. Great story. And the fact that they remembered you, it's a good networking tool, right? I mean,
it is. It absolutely is.
That.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. I talk about it all the time, and not with everybody. Some people, you got to know who your audience is.
For sure.
But yeah, no, that was a great experience. He gives great presentation. He doesn't do it standing at a podium. He does it sitting. We put up 2 armchairs, like smoking chairs, and there's a moderator, and they ask questions, and then he answers them. He by and large stays away from politics. Loves to talk about painting. He does a lot of painting. He tells. There's actually a funny story. He had difficulty finding someone to teach him because he'd have to go. I hope you're not going to hold the fact that I was conservative against me, because we know a lot of artists are not exactly conservatives.
Conservative, right?
But the lady that eventually taught him said, "No, you want to paint, and that's what I'm here to help you do." So I thought that was always a cute story.
No, that I mean, that's a great story. Tell me, what is one thing I ask a lot of graduates this on this podcast, what's one thing that sucks about this business?
I would say there are 2 things that drive me personally a little crazy. One is unresponsive borrowers, They tell you they're in a hurry, and then you go to get the documents from them. And sometimes I feel like a dentist, and I've just told you I've got to pull your teeth.
Yeah.
But I understand it to some degree. They're busy, they're business owners, they got, this is not making them money today. And I have to stop and explain to them, this is making you money.
Right.
You have to look at your ROI, your return on investment, in this case, time.
On the money used, though.
Time value that you're going to get benefit out of for doing this.
Right.
So I need you to do this as quickly as you can and as efficiently. I also hate terrible handwriting. So I try and get my clients as much as possible to type it in. We bought Adobe Acrobat where we send them the documents and they can type it in and fill it. Right.
Autofill, yeah.
and send it back to us. So I don't have to deal with that. The other two things I hate is I hate wet signatures. We live in a COVID world. We live in a world where somehow or another Wall Street managed to get to full DocuSign on everything. The fact that in some real estate deals you still need wet signatures is annoying beyond belief. I just can't tell you what a pain in the butt it is. Because then they got to print it out, sign it, scan it, send it in.
We're not as smart as the Wall Street guys.
Yeah. I think the other thing that makes me a little crazy is, underwriters remind me of watching glue dry. I can't imagine what it looks like. It's probably about on the same level as an actuary's party.
Yeah.
They ask questions sometimes and I go, it's not germane to the conversation. I have no idea where you're going with this.
Remember, every underwriter loves to decline deals, not to approve them, right?
I know. They're all like due diligence officers. I think that makes me nuts.
So you know this already.
It doesn't mean I have to like it though.
No, that's true. All
right.
right.
I mean, those are the things that I don't think there's anything I hate. I mean, I hate when a client lies to me.
No, doesn't. Yeah.
They don't disclose everything. And I tell them up front, I go, look, you might as well tell me now, because I'm going to find out.
Right.
All right. It's not a question of if I'm going to find out. It's a question of when I'm going to find out. And how much of my time are you going to waste?
Right.
Before I find it out.
Right. What's the single best thing you love about this business? If you could pick one.
Wow, single best thing I love about this
compared
business.
to your career, things you've done.
I think it's probably the sense of helping people. All my life, my jobs have been about making other people's lives better. Right. I also do a lot of charity work. So, I believe there's an old saying, karma's a bitch, if you can use that word on a podcast.
Absolutely.
I truly believe in karma. If you get up and you do the right thing for people and you help them accomplish their goals, whether it benefits you or not in the end. Sometimes I've told people not to do something. I had a deal. I decided to tell the guy I didn't think he should do the deal. It was a lot of money involved, a lot of commission involved. But the tenant was a B3 tenant. And if you know the rating systems of Moody's, B3 is one notch above default.
Yeah.
I said, you buy this building and something goes wrong with that tenant, you're going to have a multi-million-dollar loan, a lot of square footage designed for a very specific purpose, and no tenant.
Yep.
I said, I can't in good conscience. I'll do the loan if you absolutely tell me to do it. But in good conscience, I'm telling you, I think you should not do this deal. Now, he came back to me a couple of weeks later and he's got another deal. And so,
it works out.
I think that's the part I love the most is when we help somebody and I get that thank you call or that thank you letter that says, we appreciate all the time and effort you put into this, and that makes me feel good. And it makes me feel like I've accomplished something, right? I get a sense of accomplishment from
Isn't that the best feeling? I always tell grads it's the best feeling in the world. It's hard to visualize that prior to doing a deal, but once you actually help somebody and you hear their story and then you were an integral part of, either saving, growing, adding employees to that business, doesn't it make you feel damn good?
It does. It makes me feel great. And don't get me wrong, I like the money too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not a philanthropist.
Yeah. I mean, come on, you got a McLaren to buy.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, but the sense of accomplishment is also what drives you forward, right?
Sure.
It's that, as a military guy, it's about giving back to society as a whole.
Mm.
All right. And when you do the right thing, the right things come back towards you. And it's just simple. In my mind, it's physics, right? Simple physics. Every reaction has an equal and opposite
It's
reaction.
the law. Yeah, it's nature's way for sure.
So
I absolutely subscribe to that. All right. Let me ask you some questions non-related to CCTG, not related to anything. I'm just going to ask some questions here, and let's see where you fall on it. So, what's one thing about your life that people normally don't know about you just by looking at you?
so my my wife and I, we like to binge watch series of like the streaming services.
Okay.
And there's always a theme song, right, at the beginning. So like think NCIS, right?
Okay.
My wife and I get up and we do this choreographed dances to the theme songs.
Like a TikTok dance or something?
Yeah, kind of like a TikTok dance. And it's just the funniest thing in the world because we'll sit there and then we'll get out of tune and we'll stop, we start over again. We'll rewind to the beginning of the song, the beginning of the intro, and do it again. And we just kind of laugh about it
What's
because
your favorite theme song? Like, what's the most jamming theme song?
actually we're working on the NCIS one right now. So we do it while sitting on the couch now with their feet and hands going in the same directions. And it's just a weird thing we do. I can't explain it. It's just, my friends would look at me and go, that's the silliest, dumbest thing I've ever heard.
But I just, yeah. You and your wife.
But, it's just something we do. And I don't know why we do it. But,
do it.
my friends just don't know it. And every once in a while, my wife and I will do what we also call dance party.
Everybody's going to know now.
Yeah, no, we do. We also do dance party Thursdays every once in a while, where we just take a Thursday night and we just kind of get hammered in the house.
And you dance.
Drink and dance till like 1 a.m. And usually regret it the next morning when we got to get up and go to work. But I don't know where it started, but we've been doing it probably for, I don't know, we're married for, it'll be 21 years this June. So
congratulations.
And we'll be together for like 23 years.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Just something we do. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that's awesome. You should start like a TikTok account and like just do theme songs of shows.
I want to do it. I haven't convinced her to do it yet.
Yeah. Just pick theme songs. Which there's a couple good shows in the 70s where those songs would be pretty cool.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, no, we've done the Wonder Woman one where we both spin around the house pretending that we're changing into Wonder Woman. So
right.
From the 70s with Linda Carter, but
what's that show, Joe? Help me out. Moving on up to the east.
Oh, the Jeffersons.
The Jeffersons. That's an excellent intro.
Oh, yeah, no, we've done that. Yeah, we've done the Jeffersons. We've danced to the Archie Bunker song.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's weird. I admit it.
Yeah. Well, the cat's out of the bag now. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Another question. If you can meet somebody, I'm always fascinated by the answers to this, but if you can meet somebody that's have passed on or still alive and spend a couple hours with them, who would it be?
It really, if I had to think about it, there's two people that come to mind. Mm-hmm. The first is Leonardo da Vinci.
That's
the
cool.
Man, not only was he a great artist, but his scientific mind, the fact that he was so far ahead of his time in his thought processes. I mean, think about the fact that he invented the theory of helicopters 400 or 500 years before they finally got one off the ground.
Right.
I mean, I would love to know how a Renaissance man was able to think
that far
of these kind of ideas that eventually came to fruition, but there's no way the technology existed or even a thought process around the physics behind some of these things.
Right. Yeah.
400 years ago. So I think meeting him and having a drink with him, I would assume it would probably be a Pinot Grigio, because it is Italy after all.
It was Italian.
It was Italian, so there'd also be some pasta out there somewhere. would be a really interesting guy, because science and art are so different when you really think about what they are. I mean, they're both creative. They're both left brain kind of things, but they're vastly different thought processes and synapses that are involved in creating art versus doing science.
Right.
And this was a man who was a master of both.
Both.
And to me, that's just, you know, I'm fascinated by him. The other guy, if I had to name a second, and I kind of do, and he's still alive and he's 97, is, you know, most people are familiar with Warren Buffett, right? He's not the guy. I want to meet with his partner, Charlie Munger.
Charlie Munger.
And
Yeah.
most people do not know who Charlie is, but Charlie is really the brain, not the brains, but he is the guy who chooses all the investments.
Yeah.
He's the one who makes the investment decisions. And so, you know, unless you're a Berkshire kind of guy and understand the company, most people have never heard of Charlie Munger. But I would love to pick his brain on how he's been so successful for so long through so many different type of economic conditions, and yet really has never had a failure. I mean, very rarely has he ever been wrong.
Right. Yeah, I've watched a couple of interviews with him. He's actually he's pretty charismatic individual. You know,
he's a funny old guy.
And how he responds to questions. So that's
I just think that those are two people. You know, one simply because the consistency he has is just amazing. To be consistent in the markets for 60 plus years.
Oh, for sure.
Be successful. You know, we're not talking Reddit guys. This is a guy who just has looked at things and absolutely done a phenomenal job for longer than anybody I've ever known. My father was a broker for 55 years.
Yeah.
And I'm always amazed at his insights, but I would love to have met, you know, had the opportunity to meet Charlie Munger. But if it was I only had one choice, it would be Da Vinci. I just think that was great.
No, that's a unique answer. No one's ever said that to date. So, all right, we're gonna flip gears here real quick, and I'll give you a chance to ask me anything under the sun. There's no hold bars.
No hold bars. Oh
no
boy.
There's no nothing. Now's your chance. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
So actually, you know, you and I, when I went through the training, we had a conversation right afterwards. And so I wanted you to tell me a little bit more about the charity event you do, how you got involved. Because as I said, I do a lot of charity work. I sit on the board of directors for the United Way of Henry County. I'm also part of the vet support group for Henry County. So I do a lot of charitable giving back to the community.
Yeah.
And I know you've done this. And so I'm just, you know, a lot of successful businessmen generally just tend to give money. Right?
Yeah.
That's the norm. It's unusual to find someone who actually puts on an event to directly raise money for charity. So tell me a little bit about what your drive was behind that and the successes you had.
Yeah. So, you know, as you and I have discovered, we have a great affinity for cars, right? And I love to drive. I love to tinker. In my spare time, instead of going out golfing, I'll go out and go for a drive. I love cars. And you know, as I have found too in the community, people that usually have extra money to invest into cars, it doesn't have to be $1 million exotic car, but just anything, a muscle car or anything like that, they tend to have extra money, right? I mean, you don't really have cars if you're poor, and you meet a lot of interesting people. You meet a lot of business owners, and one thing. So that's an aspect of my private life, right? I love cars. But I also love giving back, particularly I do a lot of activities around, you know, kids, charities that involve children, because, you know, my philosophy is that, you know, there's a lot of terrible things that happen to a whole slew of people in this world. And if it happens to an adult, it's still bad. But my thing is like, you know, at least with children, they don't, you know, they at least an adult has gotten to live to be an adult, right? And so my theory, you know, my thing is, you know, children are very, very innocent. And it also has a little bit to do with my upbringing and how I didn't have a, you know, what you call a privileged childhood. So I have a really special place for children, sick children, impoverished children, children that grow up in very, you know, bad environments, what have you. So, and I do a lot of things throughout the year to support that. Well, one of the things that I do is we used to get, I know a lot of people in the car community across the nation. I'm well connected with a lot of people across the nation, and particularly in New York State. And I thought to myself, well, what if I can take something that I love, two things that I love doing, right? Giving back and being active in charities, but also love cars. What if I could merge the two, and they can feed off each other? And the idea is that people that tend to have cars have money and tend to donate it, right? Or at least
Yep.
try to get them to donate it. So I started about 4 or 5 years ago. I started an event at my home where I put a big calling out to the car community, which I'm well networked in that community. And I hold an event at my home. We get about 200 cars that come, and I have, about 14 acres on a property. And so I have space, and I host it. I bring in a chef. We do drinks, and we make people pay to get in, a minimum, but normally people donate more. And so I foot the expense of putting on the event. All money that's donated goes to this particular event, goes to called the Betty and Duke Albany Children's Hospital here in Albany, where it goes to a particular unit where children who are have either life-threatening or terminal illnesses. All the money goes to making their days, or some of them their last amount of days, better in terms of quality of life and feeling good. So, like, all the money gets, and that's a part of the hospital that's not funded. They don't receive funding from the hospital, so it's all donations. And so all the money raised actually, maybe buys a child a PlayStation. You know, maybe it buys them a chance to go somewhere. So it's kind of like Make a Wish, but but a very segmented audience in that hospital. And so, each year I invited a bunch of car people, and so they've come, they've donated, we've put on auctions and all sorts of things, and now it got to the point where we did it last year during COVID, and we raised a little over $40,000. That goes, which to that hospital, it was the largest donation, particularly in COVID, because a lot of events have gotten closed down. But we were outside, we kept a very COVID safe environment. But it was great, and now it's to the point now where like we have celebrities. So this year we're gonna have some celebrities come, because I know some celebrities, and that we're kind of connected in the car world. So it gets bigger every year. And to me, it's just a dream come true to match a passion that you have with another passion that you have, and they both work.
And that's a great thing. And
Yeah.
I think my partner and I are talking, maybe, I don't know about this year. We got a lot of things on our plate this year to grow a business, but
Yeah.
Maybe next year we might ship our cars up and come pay a visit.
Yeah, you should do it this year. Come on, you should do it this
year.
When
is it? Is it?
This year it's going to be in June. God, I don't have the date yet, but yeah,
I've got a wedding on mid-June, like 26th.
Okay.
In Denver. So my cousin's oldest son is getting married. They postponed it a year.
And now
COVID
it's happening. Got it.
So
good.
I told him I better have a shot by then, or I'm not getting on an airplane.
Well, you're
I
always
got a heart condition, so I don't take too many risks.
Yeah. No. You're always welcome and invited. It's a great event. I mean, it's a great.
That's awesome. That's great, and that's great cause. So
yeah.
I do one children's charity. I'm hoping to be asked to be on the board next year, but with COVID, they didn't do much. Atlanta Motor Speedway, I do a lot of work with the Speedway.
Yeah.
The GM's a good friend of mine. And they have what's called AMS Children's Charities, which provides meals and shelter for children in the greater Henry County area in South Atlanta. And last year we were able to feed about 600 kids by connecting them with the mayor of a local town that had a problem, and then with a food bank that we knew a little farther up in Fayetteville. So
awesome.
So we were excited about that.
Well,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good one. So my second question would be, there's a lot of myths out there in regards to the industry. One of the ones that I come up against a lot is that, the banks will always give you a better deal, a better rate. Why are borrowers and it kind of ties in that some of these borrowers are fearful to work with brokers. Now, I want to add a caveat. I am loath to use the word broker. I tell them we work with lending partners. I almost never use the word broker.
Right.
If somebody asks me what I do, I say we own a lending venture.
Sure.
But and to some degree, I have run across the scenario. Unfortunately, when you deal with wealthier clientele, they have great credit scores, and when a guy's got an 810, sometimes the banks are better. But which reminds me, as a third part, I'd love to see you guys get if we could somehow eventually get a real bank, not a real bank, we have real banks, but a prime kind of lender that could really get those best rates for those 800 guys.
Yeah, we have that though. We have those in each lending category. We have FDIC insured banks. I mean,
how do you generally answer that question though, when someone says to you, well, you guys are never going to give me as good a rate or as good a deal. Why should I bother? I could just go to, the local bank. I could go to my credit union.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what we would tell them is, look, we have lenders that are very, we represent, we're a correspondent to several investors and institutions that can actually are very, very competitive for competitive deals. And it just all depends. And we always encourage graduates to say it's not all about the rate. It is about the rate in some circumstances, but sometimes it's about leverage. Sometimes it's about being recourse or non-recourse, right? So it's more than just focusing on the rate. But we tell people, look, it's like anything. You can go ahead and get a quote from your bank. That's fine, but give us a shot at it, and maybe we can come in better, either by rate, either by structure, either by any one of the things that we went over. Why wouldn't you? It's not going to cost you anything by getting a quote and seeing if we can,
No, I agree. And I bring it up specifically because this is probably off topic a little, but I actually have a deal they don't have time to do the appraisal. So they're a group of doctors. They're going to buy the building with cash, 1.8 million, but they want to actually leverage it to 50% afterwards so that they can utilize the money for something else they want to do.
Okay.
And, they talk to a bank in Palm Beach. They're buying the property in Jupiter.
Right.
And, one of the borrowers happens to be a family member of mine. And he's like, well, I got quoted a great rate from a bank. You're not gonna be able to touch this rate. I'm like, well, give me a shot. So he's gonna give me a shot. But, when I looked through the book, I didn't see anybody that really kind of fit that true category of.
Or real estate?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a ton. Yeah, you have to revisit the book, my friend.
Okay. I'll have to go back and look.
I'll
send something to Mac on it and he'll.
Yeah. We have, depending on how it's structured, is it an owner occupied building?
So yeah, it's kind of weird. So they sold their practice. They had a large pain management practice.
Right.
They sold it. They now work for the company as just doctors. They're buying the building and they're going to lease it to themselves, to the company.
Yeah.
That bought them.
Right.
And work out of it.
Yeah, there's a number of ways to do that, either owner occupied or investment. But yeah, no, we have a ton that can definitely benefit.
Because I don't want to lose that deal. That's a nice, $1.8 million deal.
Yeah, sure.
And it'll appraise for more than that because the tax roll has $2 million on the tax roll.
Got it. Got it.
Two more questions that I wanted to ask is, the economy, right? Where do you see rates and opportunities going forward over the next year or two? And in particular, what's your forecast in your own head about commercial real estate? So people have been working out of their homes for the last year. I know there are a lot of empty buildings out there right now. And I don't mean just restaurants.
Sure.
But, I've talked to some business owners who say, I don't know if I'm going to renew my lease. Why would I? At the same time, I've also heard people say that productivity is actually not as strong from employees working at our houses. And you lose that team environment of not having employees be able to immediately interact.
Absolutely.
So where do you see commercial real estate going over the next year or two, and rates? Because, you saw the other day, bond market's been hot. The Fed's talked about bringing inflation and coming late to the game, letting inflation get north of 2%. So what's your kind of view and take on the industry on that side?
I mean, you know, first of all, I think it's going to come. I think the office environment is not going to come back to where it was. I think it's going to come back, but maybe not to the degree at where it was. And I think it just depends on the individual company. Do I think Manhattan's just going to be this desolate place where, you know, nobody's there? No, I don't think so. I think certain businesses will come back. I think the new norm is going to be more of I think the lesson that it taught everybody, particularly in the office market game, is the new norm is going to be flexibility, right? I mean, we even do it with some people here, but flexibility where, okay, you got to be in the office at least 2-3 days a week, and then the other 2 you could work from home, right? I think you're going to see that across the board with a lot of small and big companies. So I think we're going to see, just for the office asset class, I think you're going to have to see those real estate investors reinvent themselves a little bit. Because I don't think it's going to be a complete annihilation, but I think it's going to be definitely reduced. At the same time, though, you're going to see, you know, housing market, apartments, those are going to go through the roof. They already are,
Yep.
right? They already are. So is there certain pockets of real estate that are going to go through the roof? I think the rates are going to be relatively stable. I don't think they're in a position to hike it up anytime soon. I think this next year is going to determine, you know, how slow or quickly that happens based on the recovery, right? And from what I'm seeing in the last couple of weeks, it's all positive stuff. You know, that they anticipate job growth again, and as states start easing restrictions, New York State just got back their capacity for restaurants. I mean, you know, I think you're going to start to see a chain reaction, and I don't think the Feds. I think they're going to put the brakes on raising anything for a while, you know, to make sure that we have a healthy recovery. So I think
Certainly, yeah.
I think fix and flip. I think those areas are hot right now.
Oh yeah.
The housing market, those are hot. The office, I think that's my speculation on office. I don't think it's going to come back nearly what it was before, but
no, housing doing great. We just got a deal, 1.2 million for construction of 2 buildings, 4 units apiece, townhomes.
All right.
So, you know, we'll be starting the loan process and the underwriting process here in the next week. Gathering all the documents right now.
Right.
But they've been pre-approved for the deal. So,
right.
I see a lot of that. And a lot of fix and flips. We just picked up a 900K fix and flip that we're in the process of putting together the paperwork on. So
it's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, some interesting people. The other thing I was going to ask is, so you've been doing this a long time, right? That was one of the reasons originally that we liked you guys, is that you had been doing this a long time. Before you did training, you have a lending company, you understand the industry. If there was one thing you could change about the industry today, what would it be?
Change about the industry? If there's one thing I could change about the industry, it's a great question. You know, I would say, you know, somehow implement a, are you saying about the loan broker industry?
Yeah, about the loan broker industry as a whole.
Yeah, I would say implement. I mean, you know, we're trying to do that in our own little world, right? Meaning provide a quality training and educating people the right way getting into the business, because there's a lot of people that are not as ethical as we like them to be that you discover in this industry. I think there needs to be a you know, almost like a national standard vetting process of people getting into the industry, if that makes sense. I want to be careful about, you know, getting into, you know, a lot of overregulation, but I think one thing is, I think that will weed out a lot of bad players is almost where they have to adhere to like almost like a national standard of a code of ethics, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I think that will weed out a lot of bad eggs.
Because you don't want it overregulated. I mean, listen, I spent 25 years in the financial industry. FINRA could teach, dictators a thing or two about regulation.
Yeah, sure.
And the insurance industry is not much better.
Right.
But at the same time, you have like the CFP board where they have a code of conduct,
Right.
so to speak, and a certification. I don't know if you've ever seen the ads for CFPs, but
Yeah.
if you're a CFP, these people know what that certification means
I know what I mean.
and the ethics and codes that it stands for.
Correct.
It'd be great if we had, at least I think,
Yeah.
it'd be great if someone like yourself with what you've already done and the fact that you've created an industry trade group already, would be, maybe as a next step would be to create a certification for brokers in the industry that could then be reflected outward to say, I have this certification that I adhere to these codes to make sure that we're doing the right thing for people.
Sure. Yeah. That's one of the things that's kind of always been on our agenda to do. Easier said than done, but it's a great point. I think it needs it. Absolutely needs it to kind of weed out some of these bad apples.
Yep.
Well, listen, Eric, we're running up against time here. So I wish I could spend more time with you here because there's a lot of things that we have in common and can talk about. But I appreciate your willingness and time to take out of your busy day to speak to good old me in this little podcast we have here.
No, I appreciate being invited. I really do. So
yeah. Well, hopefully we'll talk more. Hopefully we'll talk, in the future here. But I do appreciate you coming on here and answering the tough questions.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Again, thank you very much for inviting me on, and thank you for providing the training and helping us get started in this business. Without it, we wouldn't be where we are at the moment. And we start in November, and we'll be profitable basically by end of April. We'll be in profit territories.
That's awesome. That's great. That is great.
Excited about that.
All right. Well, everybody, that's it for this episode of Entrepreneurs in Finance. We're here with Eric Levine and Triple L Capital. Thanks for coming on this podcast. Those of you that haven't done so already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also, I will mention we do have a CCTG app now, which you could download off either your iPhone or the Android platform, where you can get kind of exclusive behind-the-scenes footage on a little taste of what class is like every month. And so don't forget to download that. You'll get alerts to when things start to happen here. So thanks for your time, everybody. Take care.
There are just too many commercial loan brokers that don't have a damn clue of what they're doing. All we're trying to do here is better the industry for everybody. At the end of the day, you can make great money in this industry, but in the end, it's all about helping people. People always say, Chris, how can I be a successful broker? It's 2 words, hard work and dedication. If you don't like talking to people, you probably shouldn't be in this business.